Joe.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, man?
Welcome back. Welcome back from the slopes.
Dude, it was crazy. They've had 500 inches of snow this season there. They just extended their season through like end of April. Crazy shit. It was snowing. We only had one and a half bluebird days. The rest of the days were snow, which is nice. It just reduces the visibility. And I got to tell you, my wife 10 years ago said, let's get rid of all of our other credit cards and put everything on this Southwest Airlines credit card. And she goes, and then we'll rack up points. I got to tell you, that's like a $12,000 vacation.
Yeah.
Out of pocket, I'm out like $1,200 because of points.
Nice.
Yeah. And now we have so many points, we get companion flights for free. So anyway, highly recommend it, folks. If you want to sign up for the Southwest credit card, send me a DM so I can get another 20,000 points. I'll send you a link. And you get 50,000 points. So,
there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good trip. It was nice. It was fun. That's a great town. I highly recommend anybody Steamboat. It's a mellow, doesn't feel like fucking tourist trap. You know, you don't get any of that sense. Everybody's very local and nice. And it's a really cool place to hang out. And it's beautiful in the summer too. Love it. We've been there in the summer and love it. So that is our spot. And we got the last night of our stay was the most expensive night. We sat through a fucking timeshare points pitch from fucking Marriott and pissed off the salesman. So saved another $500. So that was good.
Oh, that's always fun. Yeah. No, I mean, those people can be friggin' aggressive.
Dude, this guy was such a dick. I mean, I went in and I was joking with him. I'm like, you must be the best salesman in the world. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, everybody that comes in here tells themselves they're going to say no matter fucking what. And you got to sell them. It's like, oh, no, I just talk about the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. So then he got pissed. Well, all right, this is too much of a tangent. Nobody wants to hear this, but I'm going to tell it anyway. But here's the thing. He's trying to sell this thing, which is you put out 65 grand, right? And then there's 4,000 a year in fees, right? Now, this is for a hotel room that costs, without points, the week points we have, but would cost you about $4,000 out of pocket for the week, right? So I said to him, he's like, well, they're increasing hotel rates, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, let's just take this out over 10 years. If I write a check for 65 grand, that's 6,500 a year, plus the 4 grand in fees. I said, so yeah, I've got points every year, but I'm now spending $6,500 more per year on the same hotel room. And let's say it goes up incrementally over that 10 years. Is it ever going to get to that $10,000 a week? I don't think so. He's like, he got pissed off. He's like, oh man, but then he made us sit the rest of the hour and a half while he walked away.
So you could earn your points. Yeah. I remember things like that for cases of beer or like gift certificates, things like that. There'd be all these gifts that you could they would use to entice the kids to say, oh yes, the beach ones. Yeah. Oh yes, Dad, can I get my blow up inflatable raft?
Exactly.
And they just, it's just like all those little tricks. That's a tough. Yeah, I don't see how people can do that.
I feel bad for the guy, but he claims he's done like 2 million in sales in the last few weeks. So fuck him.
No, good for him.
Exactly. All right. Niblet says point systems are the only revenue center for most U.S. airlines. Yeah, I believe it. I don't know what Southwest does, but I got to tell you, we've leveraged the shit out of their points. Card. So it's good.
It's always good to have fun times for free,
Exactly. So what have you been up to? How was your week, buddy?
It was good.
What'd you do?
I was up in DC for most of it.
Yeah. Oh,
took my daughter up there. It was not the weather you were in, that's for sure. It was more like 40s, 50s. But nice. Not that cold, a little drizzly, if I remember right, a little rainy. I don't remember really getting a lot done. But it was certainly not like here, 85 and sunny.
Right.
But yeah, it was good. Did some museums, met, some client stuff, some networking stuff, got to see my folks. My daughter had a good time. All of that. So just staying busy.
With your mother every time.
Yeah, they do that, but they do more spas and things like that.
Oh,
They go to haircuts and spas and movies. There's always a lot of movies to be seen.
Every time your daughter needs a haircut, take her to mom's house.
Yeah. Yeah, I might save money with my either getting giving myself haircuts or not getting them at all. But she goes in, it's like, it is, but those are like $150 a pop for
absolutely
for the girls.
They do the hair coloring and shit. They don't get out of there for $400 or $500, and it's like,
no, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get cautioned over something, like if you're going to, maybe get that top shelf vodka or something like that at the bar. People look at you like, what are you doing? And you look at them like, what are you doing with your $150 haircut?
Yeah, my drink's going to be like 1/10 of your haircut. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So, but always a good time. Always good to get back to. But I'll tell you what I did enjoy. Nothing personal to all of our loyal listeners, watchers, but I certainly enjoyed having lunch free. That was one thing I did enjoy. And, just to go meet people and stuff. And I realized that, I just started really kind of thinking about, missing that, but also wondering if there's a way to do it where, I don't know, where it's not necessarily live or something. I don't know, something to think about.
We talked about that, right? Like, can we reduce the number of days a week where we have to be live, but still provide valuable content to the people that listen, right? And part of it that we struggle with is we have so much fun interacting with everybody, and that's the thing that makes it difficult. But I think that's in our future, some reduction in our daily live commitment. And it's the hardest part about it is that when you do something in the middle of the day, it's like first you have to get geared up for it, and you and I are pulling links and putting them in our group chat and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, and then afterwards you got to come down from it. Or I'm like today, I'm jumping straight into another call. Well, that's a good 2 or 3 hours out of the middle of the day that is just not doing other things we need to be doing to generate revenue for ourselves. So and
also, as you point out, a lot of probably 90+%, 95%. That's a good point, Chuck.
Chuck makes a good idea. On days that you're on live, you should have office hours in Telegram. That's actually a cool idea, dude. I like that.
That is. It seems to me like that there's a way to do it that kind of somehow balances this. Because I definitely enjoy it. But at the same time, I didn't realize how much how much it takes up in the middle of the schedule, of the middle of the day. And so that's just something to think about. And plus, as you pointed out, I think it's like 95% of the people listen to the show anyhow at other times of the day, right?
Exactly. So, they're listening on the podcast. Speaking of which, everybody that's listening on the podcast, if you haven't joined the Mission DeFi Telegram group, there's so much good shit going on there. Did you see all the stuff Sean was posting this weekend? And everybody discussing like the outflow of USD from the exchanges and all the analysis that he and his buddies have been working on. That shit is fucking gold. If you are not in our Telegram group, you're missing out. You're really missing out. There's a lot of smart people in there, and they're all putting in their ideas. They're all coming up with thoughts. Everybody's strategizing. Everybody's talking through, debating, arguing, whatever. It's a great place to hang out. t.me/mission DeFi. t.me/mission DeFi. Get in there and join it. It's a good community. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Also, don't forget we have 2 guests today.
Yes.
For Miami.
We already have our guest. Here we go.
Oh, for Miami NFT week.
We'll wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That starts Friday, so I'm sure they'll tell us all about it. But that's always a big event in Miami, Miami NFT week. And so
quick note on some news. Euler hacker has given back some of the funds, buddy.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like 58,737 ETH and 1.2 million DAI have been returned to Euler, sorry. And then there's still 23,000 ETH and 41 million DAI that have been distributed to other addresses. But it looks like that person's either having second thoughts about law enforcement or something. So yeah, Eamon said about 50% back. So
good.
Yeah, which is great to see.
You also saw the CFTC filed on Binance and CZ this morning, right?
No, I didn't. Holy shit! Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I did not. CFTC doing it. That's interesting. Holy
yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of interesting references in the article. Like, it basically said kind of things that we've sort of talked. I think I put it in the DeFi lunch channel. Yeah.
Oh, let me.
Or it's on CoinDesk. It's on CoinDesk is where I was reading the article.
Okay,
so, that almost 20% of Binance's customers are actually U.S. institutionals that are routing through other jurisdictions, kind of like we talked about before, and that evidently they were openly encouraging customers to use VPNs to get around this shit. So, or at least one instance in there of that, I guess.
Lovely.
But it's a different if everybody does it for safety purposes, but if someone's telling you to do it at the protocol so you can get in there, that's a little bit sus to say the least. But
we'll take some look at some more details of that, discuss it a little more later, I guess.
Yeah.
Nick says, the Telegram is light on tech bro shilling nonsense, heavy of the wrestling with serious issues. Totally agree, dude. And thank you for all that you've been doing to participate there. Really appreciate it, Niblets. All right, Joe. Well, we had Gianni and Erik, and now we lost Erik again.
Well, let's just start with Gianni.
All right. Sounds good. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
Good. How are you,
buddy?
Man?
Very good. Very good.
Awesome. Let me turn off screen sharing there so we can actually see you. So you're down here in our neck of the woods, huh?
Well, where are you? I'm in Miami.
Yep, we all are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Born and raised here in Miami.
Oh, born and raised. I was not born and raised. About 25, 26 years here. But wife was raised here.
Really? About 20 years for me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
There's Erik.
Well, you got the 305 in your name, so that's always
it.
a positive.
That's it. Joe is True Blue 305. Welcome, Erik. How are you?
I'm outstanding, and I apologize for being late. That was a little user error on my part.
That's quite all right. We're used to that in the streaming world. Joe and I are constant errors, so it's all good. Don't worry about it. So, guys, Joe sent me a little bit of bio information on you, but I think it'd be cool to introduce you guys to the listeners, most of whom will listen to this later on our podcast. But we like to do the live stream because we have a community that likes to dive in as well. But would love to hear about each of you, kind of what you're up to. And I know you both are working hard in the ecosystem, so would love to hear more about what you're up to and what we can learn from you. So I don't know, Erik, you would like to go first?
Sure. So when I am not doing this crazy conference with one of my partners here, Gianni, my primary day-to-day is a very early stage angel investor, primarily in the Web3 space. So day in, day out, I'm looking for great founders and meaningful stories that I can get behind. That has led me to be a part of some amazing teams here in the space. Some launches, some protocols, and as an extension of that, I get to help out and see what I want to have built here in the space, which is a roomy, inclusive version of Web3 that isn't dominated by the traditional Web2 monolithic players, some of who are making moves in the space. And if we don't get it behind it as a community, those are going to be the same names that dominate Web3. So if you're in the sound of my voice and you're not building something, like dive in, do something, like let's go.
I love it. Erik, what were you doing before that?
My background's in marketing. So the majority of my life was spent in broadcasting for the corporate world. That led me to start some advertising agencies. Subsequently, I've bought and sold a number of those. I've also been an investor in the technology space. I owned a real estate development company as well. So very entrepreneurial in nature. But I'll be honest, I have sold all of my other businesses and I am myopically focused
All in.
on the opportunity that is right in front of us here in Web3.
Love it. Absolutely love it. We'll get into it in a minute and some of the projects you're getting into, but let's, Gianni, if you could, am I saying your name right, by the way?
You got it. You got it. Sometimes I only heard my name properly pronounced when I went to Italy. So, and it was very surprising because,
I think Joe said it correctly earlier.
My parents are Cuban and have an Italian last name. So growing up was Gianni, Johnny. And then I go to Italy and it's a Gianni. And then I'm like, whoa,
Gianni.
That's so beautiful. I love
that
it.
That is nice. It makes you feel like a different person.
It does. It does. Even more sophisticated. But
so tell us your background and kind of how you got in this space and what you're up to.
Well, similar to Erik, I've been in marketing and branding pretty much my whole life, and in Miami in particular, in the tech scene since the first .com boom. When I graduated from high school, I worked for one of the first ISPs in Miami, and then later went to work for Alienware, which was two guys from Hialeah who started a computer gaming company, and then later sold it to Dell. And then, either had an agency or worked at agencies and just always in the forefront of like cool tech and very curious about it. But in 2013, I got really deep into crypto. I started I felt enamored with the ideas, in particular, like how people can do business together without trusting each other. Just this concept of economics, which as a creative and as a marketing person, it was not part of my interest. And as a result of getting into crypto, it really piqued my interest in understanding the world in a different way. And kind of like I say, it's like remove the wool from my eyes, and the possibilities of just me as a person, as a business person, as everything. And then as a result of a conference that happened in 2014, that was happening every year, was the North American Bitcoin Conference, hosted by Mo Levin. I was privy to have been invited to the house the night before Ethereum was announced, and not many people know that this occurred here in Miami, in Miami Shores, actually, in a house. They were just kind of meeting up, getting ready for the announcement the next day. I found my way in there and became friends with all of them, and later, went to work with Anthony Diorio, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, at Decentral Jacks, which was the first multi-cryptocurrency wallet. And then in 2021, started helping Venture Miami and Mayor Suarez on different initiatives and different ideas with crypto. And it kind of like led to this idea of can we do something that the Bitcoin conference was happening in Miami, and it was kind of preventing everything that was not Bitcoin. So they weren't talking about Ethereum, they weren't talking about tokens, they weren't talking about NFTs. And obviously conferences come to take, use Miami as a feature, right? Like it's tourism, it's exciting, it's fun, but they don't really showcase the entrepreneurs, maybe a little bit. But I spoke to the city's team, and they introduced me to Erik, and they introduced us to our other partner, Ted Lucas, who's the founder of Step Inside Records, another Miami institution, another born and raised person, and Miami NFT Week was born.
No, that's great. Love that path. That's awesome. So give us kind of the overview. What's going to happen at Miami NFT Week? How are you guys, kind of focusing what is happening and what's possible there? Just, give us the whole spiel. Show us.
Well, last year we had a really exciting event. We had 5,000 people show up. We had 250 speakers. We had Mark Cuban speak. We had, just a lot of different luminaries and interesting people from within the industry. It was over 3 days. And the beautiful thing about it is that it happened within 90 days. So we were able to, we'd never worked together,
Wow.
Erik, Ted, or myself. None of the teammates that we kind of brought in had ever worked together, and we were able to pull off such a feat. And again, we're doing it
amazing
again this year, and with the same team. We know how to work with each other a little bit better. Some systems are there, others have been improved, but we're not an event company. We are a group of entrepreneurs that are passionate about crypto. and blockchain and NFTs, and wanted to kind of like get people to learn about it and explore, because the experience I know that Erik has had and I have had and others have had in the conferences is where networks happen, is where people meet. It's where businesses start. And again, that focus is again this year, but the focus is also on the faces of Miami, the diversity, the LATAM, or like some other people, the LAC, which is Latin America and the Caribbean, making sure that those voices are heard. And so we have a lot more of that happening at this conference this year, and emphasis on the metaverse and gaming and whatnot. Erik.
Well, no, I mean, I think you touched on it, Gianni. That network effect is what we're looking to lean into. And we were very fortunate to be able to create that this last year. And we want to double down on those efforts. To Gianni's point, a lot of these conferences come into town and it's great for the 3, 4, 5 days that they're here, but then they pack up and they go elsewhere. We're looking at what's next in Miami, and we want to be the early adopters and the early stakeholders that are creating the economy that fuels the next 10, 20, 30 years here in South Florida. And we have an opportunity with a conference that we put together. And so we want to make sure that we can do everything humanly possible to make sure that this wave of innovation that has started over this last 3 years continues. And I bring this up often, but I think it's incredibly powerful. There was a period for either 10 or 11 quarters in a row where Miami led the nation in tech job hires, #1 city in America for tech job hires.
Yep.
It had never previously led the nation one quarter. So if you look at that, if you look at the opportunity that's created by that, that can either be a flash in the pan moment, and that was great, and a couple of years it kind of fades and goes away, or that can be the catalyst that drives this for future adoption, innovation, and founders who don't even know they're founders yet to say, hey, that can be me too. I can be a part of that, and I can do it in Miami. I don't have to go to the guys in Sand Hill Road. I don't have to go up to the New York VCs. I can do it right here because this is where the energy is. This is where building is happening. And you're seeing that happen in intellectual capital, in real capital inflows into the market. And so we want to make sure that we're the best ambassadors humanly possible for this story of Miami.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I totally agree with you on that. I live way south of Miami, and having had an office downtown in the startup scene for a number of years before this all blew up, I'm really excited to see what's happening now, right? Because there was a lot of years of a very small number of people that, not me, that were building, trying to get things off the ground from a tech perspective in Miami, and to actually see all of those folks work pay off is really tremendous. I mean, it's amazing to me to see that it kind of has exploded the way it has. And I think it has long-term potential. I really do. I think that the atmosphere, 100+ languages spoken in this town, in this county, the fact that there are people from all kinds of cultures everywhere, all make it the best spot possible for, I think, tech and blockchain to continue to grow and prosper. So really glad to see you guys are taking that approach and ethos to how you're building this, because I think it's critical. And I loved when you talked about the fact that you guys don't want this to be something where it's a 3 or 4 or 5 day conference and then everybody takes off. You really want it to be a growth mechanism so that more can be happening from the relationships that get built when your conference is happening. So I think that's a fantastic approach. It makes sense on every level.
Well, it's one of the questions that we asked after we had a successful event last year is, what can we do to add? How can we build out an even more robust ecosystem? And so a testament of that is the fact that we're doing a build-a-thon this year, and we're going to have 500+ projects entered into a 3-day build-a-thon that goes on the same days as our event, and announce the winners from our stages, because that's how important it is for us to make sure that these young, early stage founders and folks that don't even know they're founders are doing the work here in Miami that are going to pay long-term dividends. And I apologize. I knew you were going to jump in.
No, that's fine. I was just going to sort of, follow up on what Brad said. is that, I haven't been here for 20 years myself. I do remember all of the X.comers and the few companies that were held together in that, and all the meetings that would happen. I can't remember where the backbone hub is in downtown Miami. It was like a yellow building for a long time. Exodus maybe hub or something. Remember people would meet around there back in like 2005, 2004, 6, somewhere around there. And then to see it now where it's really becoming a destination city for tech. Whether a lot of that came through the pandemic or just, because of the unique tax advantages of Florida versus, say, California, it's definitely something that's stuck and it resonates. And I think we have the people from, Eastern Europe, a lot of people from Israel, lots of Europeans, all the South Americans. It's a great mix, and I'm glad to see that traction happening too. And I applaud that you're kind of doing the same thing with the conference. It's not, Brad and I were at ETH Denver. I guess it was 10 days ago, but it feels like a year ago at this point. And just the activity that was there that held everybody together, and 15,000 attendees, but you really got the feeling that it was going on permanently there. I think having that here through what you're trying to do is something that is only going to add more value to everything that we're all trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing I do want to quickly ask about is how the hell you pulled it off in 90 days in the first year, because I own part of an event management company, and these things get planned for a year or years in advance. So I'm pretty flabbergasted with you guys pulling that off. You should probably have an event company.
Well, when we started last year, Gianni actually had hair. So if that gives you an idea. No, it was great people coming together who were really focused on the task at hand. Yeah. And I mean, at some point we were successful in spite of ourselves because we really didn't know. But we knew what we wanted to create, and we knew that we wanted to give people who maybe didn't have a voice in some of these other conferences an opportunity to speak. And my two founders are Miami guys, born and bred, like they bleed Miami. I'm the outsider, and they welcomed me in with open arms. And I quickly bought in and saw how important it was to make sure that people from Miami had the opportunity to speak, and people that looked like Miami. Nothing against some of these other conferences, but you look and it's a lot of white gentlemen. And
it's a Hallmark television show. There you go.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that this is a moment in time, much like I said, if we don't get in and start building, it's going to be the XYZs of the world. I'm not going to name these, multi-billion and trillion-dollar corporations, but you know who they are. And it's the same. If we don't let new people into the space, if we don't encourage new people to come into the space, we're going to have a lot of folks who look like what the last 15, 20, 30 years of tech have looked like. And that's great. They look a lot like me, but I don't want that. I want to make sure that women, Black and brown founders, Latin founders, all have a place at the table, because it all plays. Like there has never been an opportunity in a technology that allows for the democratization of dissemination of knowledge and technology and wealth and financial services. And just, you can check all of the boxes and it's all available through blockchain. And so why the hell not would you not want to encourage people to get into this space? And one of the things we're doing that I'm super proud of, and we did last year and we're doing again, we are intentional about having high schoolers here and all of the higher, the higher education institutions here in South Florida. We're inviting them all, and it's not because it's a great, thing for us from an economic standpoint. It actually adds to our costs, but it's how important we feel it is that these kids get exposed to what's available in the space.
Well, and I think that's a really fantastic thing, because, one of the things I talk about all the time about this space is that it is the first true, as far as I'm concerned, industry with a meritocracy, right? If you come into this industry, you learn, you build, you sacrifice, you give, you have every opportunity in the world. You can be anonymous, you can be pseudo-anonymous, you can be completely upfront and open. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter what you do. Any of the choices you make in life, if you produce, you can do well in this industry. I think that's fantastic. The other thing I think is fantastic about what you're doing here is I remember back when I was working downtown trying to get startup stuff going, every one of the developers coming out of FIU and UM and anywhere else were getting sucked up by the banks locally, ironically, right? You couldn't hire the best guys out of school because they were getting taken away to New York or Coral Gables for a little while and then to New York or wherever else. And so the fact that you guys are drawing in high school and college students to be a part of this is, to me, a really critical factor in the growth that we were talking about for Miami, right? If we don't get this channel of education funneling people into this industry, then it's going to have to be all importing. And nothing wrong with importing. I'm happy with importing, but I also think that we've got to have a foundation of talent coming out of here as well. And so I'm really glad to hear that you guys are exposing students to what's possible here, because I think that's a really critical factor.
I was going to let Gianni speak, but I'll just jump in real quick. You touched on the biggest headline risk to the story of Florida and South Florida and Miami specifically is access to young intellectual capital who's passionate about the space. And if we don't plant those seeds now, this story of Florida could actually fall off of a cliff or die on the vine because we don't have enough young people who want to be in this space and build in this space here. And being in an importer economy is great for now, but it doesn't work long term. That's a hard sell to have 5, 10, 20 years down the road. I don't know a lot of municipalities who have been successful with that recipe. And so it's why it's so important for us right now to make those investments into, that next generation of builders.
Totally agree. Go ahead, Gianni.
Well, I was going to add, that combination also of Miami's, Miami is a boom and bust city, right? Like it's always been like that since the 20s and even, the 20s and then the 50s and the 60s. And then, the immigrations from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Nicaragua and all these other influences, they boom and then they bust. And each time there's like an avalanche. It's almost like a seismic shifts, right? Like mountains get formed and then they stay, and another mountain gets formed and they stay. And we're seeing that also, and it has an influence. If you see, FIU, Miami-Dade, from when I went to school here, these schools are massive now. Like,
they're gigantic.
They're not tiny, and they're providing a lot of benefits to the students.
Yep.
And as a story that Erik and I like to talk about, and Ted like to talk about a lot, it's like what was the influence of our conference on people, right? And those people in Miami in particular. There's this one young lady. Her name is Juliana, and Juliana was at a startup meetup at FIU. It was like a meetup for startups and students looking to start up things and entrepreneurship. And we were talking about blockchains and DAO and DeFi. They had just like a nice little rounding of things. And I was able to give out 50 tickets to the event. And as a result, she went to the conference, and she didn't really know much about NFTs, but she was so enamored about blockchain that she took it on to herself to build the FIU Blockchain Club.
Nice.
Which has a couple hundred members. They host meetings every so often, every week, or at least once or twice a month. And as a result, she's now speaking at Miami NFT Week.
Nice. That's awesome.
And
that's really good.
Those are the stories that we love to hear, and the impact that has. Now, will she go into blockchain 100%? Maybe, maybe not. But you know what? It's part of her thinking, of the opportunities that are outlaid, and her conversation about Miami, and about her experience.
Now, and that's critical. Like you guys were talking about earlier. Look, the number one, the two top economic drivers of the economy of this county for the last 50 years are the airport and agriculture. And we need things that can replace that and have more consistent streams of opportunities. And so I'm really glad to see that you guys are driving this forward. That's fantastic.
Well,
so
success.
Hey,
go ahead.
how about? I'm going to jump just to. I'm curious from maybe a little alpha from the attendees of the show. What struck you as very interesting this year, of maybe new attendees and things, or new tech that stands out to you guys a little bit, so that maybe then our audience can look them up too and follow up on at the show or virtually.
I mean, the lineup on our homepage, as far as like our key speakers, are going to be really interesting. The wonderful thing is that that friend that I mentioned that I made in 2014, Anthony Diorio, is coming to speak. You know, yeah,
Oh, cool.
I'm going to have a fireside chat with him, and
Nice.
you know, he's been ultra successful and ultra generous with just his experience in the space. You know, he's the one that Vitalik gave the white paper to at a meetup in Toronto to kind of like. And he was so enthralled by what was happening that that it's something that he's going to do, and he's going to talk about this new hardware that he's coming out with that allows people to be their own node at home and kind of resell their space and do really interesting decentralized thing. But I mean, if you go through this list that you're showing here, it's 250 plus speakers. A beautiful thing about it is a lot of them are from South Florida or recently moved to South Florida.
Pomp is on here. Recent Miami import.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Erik, do you have some people you want to shout out or kind of talk about?
Well, one of the most heartwarming moments for me last year was we had a panel with young creators, NFT kids, and we're welcoming them back again this year. So
nice.
There was, just something unbelievable about seeing these little, rock stars who are 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years old, and they're already doing things that, would lap us by a pretty significant magnitude. And it's like, man alive, like it makes me actually really, bullish on the future. Sometimes, if you buy into what's happening in the world or the news, it's easy to get down. Spend a few minutes with these young creators and you will be filled with an overflowing emotion of absolute hope, and that we're in a better spot than maybe, we all want to buy into. And so that's one to me I cannot wait to see again. And then the other thing, we have, I think, 6 different panels that are touching on LATAM issues. I don't see that programming at other conferences. And so we want to be the conversation starter for the intersection of, this massive market opportunity that is Latin and South America and the Caribbean. And it's getting ignored in many places. And so we want to be able to shine a light on that. So that chunk of programming is unbelievably interesting to me. And then the conversations that have been super topical recently around AI and the changing and evolving market conditions as we march forward. Regulation, those are the less sexy things, but those are the worthy conversations that we need to have to make sure that our voice is heard in the space. And it's not, this top-down approach, but rather that it really does bubble up from the people who are already building in the space.
That's awesome. When does this show kick off?
We are Friday. Less than a week away. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get your tickets now. MiamiNFTweek.com. And we love to have you. And the other thing too, this does not help me as a business person, but if you're in the sound of my voice and for whatever reason you can't afford a ticket, DM me, DM Gianni on social, find us. We're not that difficult to find. We're very public figures. We want to make sure that you're there. If you're a mom or a dad and you want to bring your kids because they're excited to learn and money's an object, don't let it be an object. This is an opportunity for you to get out here and see what's going on, and we don't want you to miss it.
That's awesome. And Gianni made us a coupon code while we were talking, so anybody listening can get 75% off, Gianni. That's friggin' phenomenal, man. Thank you. That's awesome.
We want as many people as we can to experience the event and learn as much as they can.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you guys doing that. So I'll put this in the Telegram group as well, folks. But if you're listening on the podcast, it's DeFi Lunch 75, DeFi Lunch 75. And I'll put it in the Telegram group as well. So make sure you're signed up there to get all the information. But that's great. Thank you, Gianni. Thank you, Fred. Erik, why did I call you Fred? I'm just making it.
I'll be your Fred.
You'll be Fred today?
I can be your Fred.
All right, Eric's going to be Fred today. I'm not sure where Fred came from. I have a business partner named Fred, but yeah, no. Okay, that's awesome, guys.
Don't feel bad, Brad. I had a young lady who was joining us this morning, working with us all morning. I called her Jessica 15 times, and only as she was leaving did she say, "Just so you know, my name's Amanda."
Nice.
So, don't feel bad.
Thank you so much for making me feel better. That's great.
Yeah. So hey guys, we'll be there because we have media passes for the show. So we'll track you down and pest you a little bit while we're there, and hope to interview some of the cutting edge people speaking. So when you guys are chatting, feel free to introduce us on the fly and things like that during the show. Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Erik.
great, Pepe. And sorry, no, Pepe.
Anything else we should know, Gianni and Erik, or anything else anybody can do to get active and engaged? Do you guys need help with anything, any of that?
We're good. We have if you visit any of our social media channels, it's Miami NFT Week everywhere the same way. And just another mention, it's in Wynwood. It's in the heart of the action in Miami.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Everything is walkable, food and artwork and just a bunch of stuff. And we have 2 great events, opening at night event in the heart of downtown for our general admission pass holders, and then in the Wynwood Market, which is like just literally just walking outside the doors of the convention center for aped-in holders and above. Oh, you're checking out my
and real quickly, I want to point everybody to his to Gianni's NFTcuba.art project. It looks really cool. The art looks fantastic. I know this is kind of a passion project for you, man, and so I really think it's important. And that's again one of the things that makes Miami great is there's so much art and culture in this community that really makes it an amazing, vibrant place to live. And so to see you helping Cubans get their art into the form of NFTs is fantastic to me. I really appreciate what you're doing there with that project, Gianni. That's great.
I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. So everybody, make sure you visit MiamiNFTweek.com and use DeFi Lunch 75 to sign up, because you don't want to give away that discount unless you just want to pay extra. That's good. We're okay with that too. But guys, really appreciate you coming on. And more importantly, I really appreciate what you're doing for Miami, for NFT, for blockchain. Love the work you're doing. I know how hard this work is. People kind of think these events just happen. It is probably one of the most stressful gigs you can take on to build an event of this scale and importance. And so kudos to you guys. I hope you have a nice vacation or break planned for post show, and you guys get a little relaxation. But thank you for what you're doing for all of us in the industry and for Miami. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
Great, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's cool, Joe.
Yeah, great guys. Yeah, I got us hooked up there for media passes, but I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if I could do Saturday and Sunday, but I'm definitely going to swing by on Friday. So
okay, cool.
We could go just check that. That's the big DeFi day, anyhow. So
it is. Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and the other ones are more focused on other things, but the weekends it kind of gets a little bit occupado on the other areas, responsibilities. So
like real life.
But yeah, so let's go down there Friday, and then we can just work it like we do, and then we don't get overloaded with like 4 straight days of it. We just get one day.
Yeah,
where we can go pick and choose. But yeah, I love these. I love the fact that they're kind of trying to build up this sustainable ecosystem now around, tech in Miami, and I also like the fact that I remember being in a Wynwood, and again, this is probably going to be a lot longer than I remember, but when it was all Salvation Armies and Goodwill stores,
right?
And then going over there, maybe like 2012 or something, when Pantera Coffee opened up, and there were a couple other places. And then now you go down there and it doesn't look anything like it used to look at all.
Wynwood is freaking awesome, dude. It's really amazing. Yeah. It's really amazing. That's fantastic. Wow. Well, I'm excited about this, buddy. I think this is great. Glad you got them on. That's really interesting to see, and it's just a good story too. I love that as well.
Well, don't you find it funny too?
Mooch is going to be there, Joe.
Oh, he is awesome. Mooch. Okay, Mooch.
I'm going to go have a chat with him about fucking Algorand.
That's right, man. Oh, I thought you were talking about our mooch. I thought you were talking Mr. Muccioli.
No, talking about the Scaramucci.
Yeah, Mr.
Algorand fame. Yeah.
Yeah. How long did he last in the White House again? He was only there for like a couple
10
days,
days.
right? 10 days. All
10
right.
days. This was his
Yeah, that's yeah. So look, we could track down all these people if we want. I mean, I went through the list and I saw a lot of influencers and groups like that I don't really know. You might know some of them.
I know a few in the list. A few Miami guys I know. One in particular, Reuven Cohen, who I've known for a long time. I had lost track with him. We hadn't talked recently, so I want to kind of check and see. I'm going to look at his projects and see what he's up to.
Yeah, and also I think what's funny is that all the people that have been around for like 20 years here talking about tech or evangelizing from Miami Tech, it's sort of like, I didn't feel like there were that many there, or back then I didn't feel like there were that many, and now you see, all these clusters of people that I didn't really know are still here. It's kind of refreshing to see the perseverance, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So.
Yeah, no. Look, I mean, the days of there was some really important foundational people that were building the Miami startup scene years ago, like the times you were talking about, and then post that, like, and even 2008 to 2017, and people who were working their asses off every day to try to build a foundation for technology startups in Miami. And sadly, I think some of those guys burned out after trying to do it for 15, 20 years. And then I think others, when the bigger VCs came into town, and the bigger name tech people came into town, kind of got pushed out of the way. And that may be the way it's supposed to be, right? You have people who are the foundation builders, the early engagers, the guys who are really, trying to build something. And then, the big name and the big money comes in, and that's what drives it. But there are so many startups being built and launched here. It's really amazing to see what's happening. And this is really cool. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that, I mean, planning events is a nightmare. So
yeah,
I don't even want that job.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it. I guess it all comes in under the PR banner or whatever, but it looks like a lot of hassle. But the other thing, just onto your last topic or your last comment, one thing, I don't know how much everybody else knows this, but Miami's sort of the financial services capital of South and Central and the Caribbean. And so that's why you get such an influx of people from, all of these different countries. I think, Brad, you said 100 languages. Well, think of, near 100 countries.
Exactly.
And so, a lot of people bank in Miami, and then those banks, where do you think the Bank of Buenos Aires, I'm just making a name up, would deposit their funds? They deposit it in U.S. banks. So, it all sits here. So with blockchain, and particularly the financial protocol side of it, the DeFi side of it, it seems to me like it has a lot of applications for South America, particularly for that relationship in particular, the money moving back and forth, the yield chasing, et cetera. I think there's something there for that. And then all the other business models, like the one, Shizzy turned us on to HiveMapper, I believe, the Honey one. Or, we talk about Genomes DAO sometimes, so we talk about other ones where they have specific applications. Those could all bypass all the legacy infrastructure in South America, just like the cell phones did, when Bell South started launching it in South and Central America. So a lot of potential for that here. And then, of course, we all know how a lot of Wall Street moved down here in the pandemic. So, it's not just the South American capital and the South Florida money. Now the New York money's here too, and it's going out that way as well to look for yield, to look for investment. So it has legs. It's got cool stuff.
Nibbles asked an important question though, and then he said, "How is current Florida culture war politics affecting Florida's ability to attract talent and projects?" I don't think it is yet. I don't think people are quite aware some of the stuff that the legislature and the governor are doing here yet. I think it will become much more prominent in the next 2 years for the election cycle if DeSantis runs. And I think it could be an impediment. For me personally, as kind of a moderate and somebody who didn't vote for our governor, I'm kind of hopeful that the startup tech scene brings in a lot more moderate voters to the state and actually helps us buttress more moderate politics. So that's kind of my hope here, is that's going to drive some of that this way, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think there's an impact right now on it.
Yeah. I'd also add, just for those who don't know as well, is that, Miami-Dade and, say South Florida is much different from the rest of Florida.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the DeSantis messaging is going to like Northern Florida, Central Florida, Southwest Florida, where you tend to have more, it's not as diverse. Okay. I see Brad was sitting there going, oh, what's he going to say here? No, but I mean, the point is that here is where you have all the diversity. Okay. The internet. So when I speak of like the capital of, the financial center of South America, I'm talking about Miami. Okay. I'm not talking about any other part of Florida. So this part is super diverse, super, tolerant. And the only interesting wrinkle in that is that the Cuban population, which is a very large component of the South Florida population, is much more diverse than, say, it was politically, 25 years ago. It still is very conservative, but it's changing every day. And so that's what I find. You got that same youth dynamic working up for, older people down to kids. It seems to be going in ways that are sort of practical diversity. There's some social conservatism there, but at the same time, it's more tolerant than, say, you would see in Tallahassee.
Yep.
Those are college towns, though. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd say, to your point, it's a matter of time, but not as much now in the social stuff, I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I agree with you. Real quick, I want to cover this because I got to drop in 6 minutes.
Yep.
But
right.
You sent over this MicroStrategy, bought 6,455 BTC over the past several weeks at an average price of 23,000. Where was that? 23,000 something. $23,238. Of course, if he'd been listening to Sean, he would have held off on those purchases, but he wasn't. So, you need to start. Mr. Saylor, you should start listening to DeFi Lunch with at least Thursdays with Sean. The other thing that was really – go ahead.
He paid off the whole – I don't know if he said it. I might have been daydreaming, but he did say he paid off the whole Silvergate line of credit, right?
Yep. He paid off the $205 million loan to Silvergate, and I think it was at a 22% discount. So, that's done. So MicroStrategy now holds more than 130,000 BTC, totaling around $4.1 billion in value. But then I saw this tweet. Had MicroStrategy bought, they would have earned, had they bought Ethereum instead and staked it, there's a dashboard, they would have earned 295,575 ETH, and at 4%, it would be currently worth about 519.3 million. And for a total value of, if they had bought ETH at the same times and staked, of 6.957 billion. So a 50% gain over what he had gotten with his with his Bitcoin. And if he buys ETH now, he can still have 2.195 million ETH if he trades his BTC for ETH, and with an annual revenue from staking of $193 million USD. So,
wow, that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's funny because we all know his reputation from the past, but the fact that he's still going and still buying. And still,
believer. That's a bet. I mean, that's an all-in bet. Once you're there, you might as well go, I guess.
Hey, it's only shareholder money, right? It's all BlackRock, or Blackstone, whichever one controls that company.
Yeah.
But no, I like it. I mean, come on, do you guys feel like when I look at the market and I mean, it's with Sean and you love him to death, but It's like it's the same message every time. It's like I'm long like crazy, but I'm shorting the shit out of this. If it goes down, I clean up, and if it doesn't, I do fine.
Exactly.
I mean, but I feel like that. Okay, the market's still, still there though. It's still, for some, I don't know where it's coming from, but I just feel like I don't feel as doom and gloomy, I guess, as maybe I should after the CFTC, I guess indictment of Binance or whatever you call it from them. When I hear stuff like this, people still going strong. So,
well, look, I
don't know, man.
Look,
it feels weird.
I still think, if you look at the data that Sean posted in our Telegram group about basically the fleeing of USD from the market, that basically means, look, this is pumping up here. His belief is it's a level of manipulation to get the last, bits of candy from the children, and that it will drop. The bottom line is, when you don't have volume and liquidity holding up the market, eventually it's going to get exhausted, and it is going to drop. Whether it drops to his 6,000 prediction, I don't know. I think the forces of economics and banking issues could sustain this a bit longer, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. Yeah, I guess what I wasn't trying to fault what he's saying. I was more just saying there's so much negative. We're just so, I guess, vaccinated against it at this point. That it's just, we're also expecting it, to happen, that I wonder if fate throws us a wrench or throws it the other way. But to your point, I think also that a lot of people are taking money out of the market. I mean, when I saw that CFTC suit on Binance real quick, and 20% of it is U.S. institutionals trading through other countries or using Estonian e-resident cards. That money's now coming out because I think a lot of people were scared that, you can off-ramp. You can off-ramp easily still.
Yeah.
The problem is on-ramping cash right now.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of people are saying, well, screw it, let's just take it out. But I don't know, does that then go to Coinbase instead of Binance? That's what I don't know. So I don't know. I know you got to run, but let's talk about that more tomorrow or the next day. And
you just made me think of something. I lost it. Fuck.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
About
what you were saying
made
me think of it, and then I lost it. And I don't
about the institutional money being in Binance, or it flowing out and then maybe going into Coinbase or somewhere else.
I don't know.
Hey,
if you have teenagers and they're taking the SAT, have them sign up as quickly as possible to take the free course at Khan Academy. My son went from a 1420 to a 1500. He's now in the 99th percentile. Needless to say, I sent money to Khan Academy because that's going to make a dramatic impact on his life and the schools he gets to go to. And of course, my daughter and him have both used Khan Academy over the years. So just a quick plug. If you've used Khan Academy, give them money. If you haven't used Khan Academy and you have kids that are coming up, it is that is directly attributable to him taking their SAT training course. And it's the only official SAT course connected to the College Board. And it actually analyzes your past capabilities and then helps you train based on where your weaknesses are. So highly recommend it.
Good job. Congratulations, buddy. That's awesome.
Man. Good shit. All right, Joe, have a great afternoon. We'll catch you later. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Gianni and Fred and Erik for joining us today. And
Fred. It's like, Fred, where the hell is Fred?
Thank you, Shizzy, Niblets, Eamon, Chuck. Appreciate you guys participating today. If you are listening on the podcast, please make sure you join our Telegram community. You're missing out on lots of good alpha and information, debates, news, topics, etc. It's t.me/mission DeFi, t.me/mission DeFi. If you're listening on the podcast, please take a minute to go quickly rate and review us. It helps boost us in the overall ratings and rankings and search. And if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the little bell and smash the thumbs up so that we also get a boost over on YouTube land in the algorithm. Hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful day. And Joe, we'll see everybody tomorrow.
All right, buddy. See you tomorrow, man. Talk to you later on today.
All right, man. Cheers. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, cool. I got to end the broadcast. Now I'll end the broadcast. Now I'm going to end the broadcast. Now it's ending. Now we're